Okay, so my name is Avigdor. I'm the Director of Product Management for a group called Identity Protection, specializing in digital signature. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we're seeing the market, how we're seeing the market change, how it's impacting us, and how we expect it to impact the region as well. Okay, so first, I want to start with a strong statement. I know not many agree on this, but this is my opinion, having seen the digital signing market for the past 12 years. I think digital signing has been a very challenging market for the past 3 to 4 years. It had a very good time, a gold period between approximately 1998 until 2009. But for the past 4 to 5 years, we've been seeing some challenges for PKI and qualified signature. My claim is that it has never been truly adopted. It has never been truly adopted on a global wide scale. And there were several reasons for that. I'll show you why that happened. And I'll show you also what I think might change that and what is changing it. Now, for me, Central Eastern Europe is a sweet spot. This is one of my, I would say, most advanced territories in the world with everything that has to do with PKI and qualified signature. There are many countries in the world that have tried to adopt qualified signature and have tried to adopt PKI. Some of them somewhat successfully, some less. But over here, it has been more mature, a better understanding of the security needs, and much better implementations. And I think for me, this is why we have defined as a company that out of 10 regions, Central Eastern Europe is placed on the top 2 as our strategic areas for 2016, 2017. So I'm sure you've heard this several times, but just to give you kind of a very high level introduction into how the companies have merged, Gemalto and SafeNet, and why that is good for us, why that is hopefully good for you. We were 2 very strong companies in identity protection space and especially in the digital signing space. SafeNet had a very strong positioning on USB tokens. I actually come from the SafeNet acquisition, formerly from the Aladdin acquisition. And we have been a very strong leader in USB tokens worldwide. Gemalto obviously is one of the number 2, probably the top leader in smart card technology. So what we bring now together is actually the ability to combine these 2 technologies with other technologies that we have around cloud and authentication to bring together a complete solution for some of the new challenges that we are facing. Okay. By the way, if you're familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrant for authentication, you would see that both companies were located on what we call the most advanced with highest degree of vision and also highest ability to deliver. And combined, we believe that we have a very good opportunity ahead. I'd like to focus on 2, I know you've probably heard too many numbers during the past few years. Everybody's talking numbers, but I'd like just to focus on 2 important numbers that are normally not quoted by many people in the company. One is the fact that we are a company that stresses innovation and stresses the ability to address new technologies and to be in front of technology change. So 114 plus patents filed last year, and we're strongly putting an emphasis on doing more of that. Another fact that we like to be proud of is a pretty high, compared to the market, percentage of customer satisfaction. We meet our customers, we put an emphasis that all employees in the company will actually meet and inquire customers to understand what we are doing good and what we are not doing good so we can improve. Okay, so just a word on where I am located inside the organization and why this is tied into digital signature. We have built now with the combined company a body called Identity Protection. This new formed organization is there to address the need for secure identities and secure ecosystems. And we've split that into two, into an enterprise group and into a trusted identities group. And the reason we're doing that is because an enterprise handles identities and certificate very differently than a trusted ecosystem. In an enterprise, we manage private identities, and most of the services and most of the applications are managed locally by an IT manager who has full control on the whole ecosystem. With trusted identities, we're actually focusing on more public identities. So this will more relate to certificate authorities, trust centers, mobile network operators, everyone that tries to create trust between few different parties, and actually business applications providers that need to rely on these secure identities that certificate authorities provide. And how we address this market is by actually trying to be positioned right in the middle between three important segments of this market. The first segment is obviously the users, most importantly. The user wants to log on to his university. A user wants to log on to his online health data. A user wants to sign a transaction with a bank, right? We need to provide the technology for these guys to be able to access the services. On the other hand, we need to address the service providers. We need to allow them to build the banking solution, healthcare solution, education, tax filing solution, document signing solutions that will be able to consume these identities and trust them. And the third part is that we need to provide technology bricks to identity providers, certificate authorities that would need to be able to generate certificates, load them, and use them in combination with these services. And what we're trying to do now is actually to focus more on the service part. If you think about the past, in the past, it would have been extremely simple to deploy a certificate-based solution, right? I'm not talking about the issuance part, which is complicated. I'm not talking about registration, which is complicated. But if you try to combine a VPN solution with a smart card solution, that would have been extremely simple. You use CAPI API, PKCS11 APIs, you create applications that support these standards, and everything works together great. It's a little bit too optimistic, but everything works great. Now, I'm going to show you how the world is now changing because of three important trends that are happening in the world: mobility, identity, and cloud. And I'm going to show you how this simple environment is becoming extremely complicated and extremely difficult to address. So in a word, the reason we think why Gemalto is positioned well to address this problem is for three reasons. One, we put an emphasis on providing a complete solution. We are not only a hardware vendor providing only smart cards. We're not only providing a management system. We have hardware solutions, software solution, authentication, digital signature, management, and we have a complete solution that can be deployed. Second is that we are recognized. You've seen the Gartner Magic Quadrant. That is one of the main decision points by an IT administrator and by a CEO when he decides how to purchase and how to deploy a solution. Depends on analyst opinion. And third is the fact that we believe that now with the combined companies, we have the resources to address and be a long-term trusted partner by you and by our partners. So let's talk a little bit about the market. Traditionally, we have been focusing on markets that are, I would say, PKI oriented. And when I talk about PKI oriented, I mainly refer to India, Russia, and Brazil, and Sweden. These are good examples of countries that know how to deploy PKI, right? Think about Brazil. These guys have been doing contract signing with PKI for the past 10 years. Russia is extremely advanced with ghost cryptography based on elliptic curves, right? Sweden has deployed national identity with healthcare services in a very well deployed solution. But we are now seeing some of, I would say, new entrants into this market who are now trying to deploy PKI even better than how it was initially deployed. And thinking about new ways of how to do that. A good example is the eIDAS in Europe. Another example is Japan. I know you know better than me about the eIDAS. I'm still learning. I'm trying to keep track of how eIDAS is moving. But Japan, as a good example, central bank comes out with a mandate that PKI must be used for interbank transactions. A new change now in Japan is a program called My Number. They are trying to deploy PKI for every citizen, for everything they do, if it is getting a mortgage or signing a contract for my health insurance. And what the common denominator between, I would say, Europe and Japan, and this is becoming more and more relevant in other countries, is that the focus is now being put not on the secure element held by the user, right? Not on the smart card or token. It is put on centrally managing the keys, meaning everybody wants now for the keys and for the private keys and certificate to be hosted in an HSM as a service that the end user can then access. So let's talk about the three trends: mobility, identity, and cloud, because these are the three trends that are heavily impacting everything we do now. And if we're not able to address them, we will not be successful. How many people, and not from the guys from yesterday, how many people, what is the size of the world population today? How much?
7 billion.
Correct. 7.3 billion people in the world today, including infants, okay? So when we look at 7.1 billion mobile subscriptions, this number is completely amazing. That is one for every person on the face of the planet. Now, in 5 years, that will grow to 9.2 billion. Now, if we look at this number, 7 billion, try to take a guess. How many connected devices will we have by 2020 in general? How many devices will be connected to the internet? I know you know. No? How, 7, 10, how much do you think? Connected devices in general, tablets, laptops, sprinklers that connect to the internet. Close. 26 billion. This is our opportunity, okay? This is our huge, huge opportunity, this growth. We're talking about 1.2 billion tablets and 26 billion connected devices. Every device needs an identity, every person needs an identity on the device. And if we look at this number, $860 million, this is still, I apologize, this is in US dollars and not in euros or Czech crowns, but $860 million is the current revenue for personal portable security devices. Think about where that will go 5 years from now, if we have a 5-time explosion in connected devices and a 10-time explosion of movement of data traffic. Now, second is identities. So I don't need to convince you, right? Mobility is everything. We all agree on that. Mobility is growing. In the world today, we have 50 to 60 billion digital identities with only 7 billion people, right? Half of the population, half of the people in this room have 4 digital identities. The average person in this room has 24 identities. 24 identities. I know it doesn't seem right, but if you go and you count all of your identities, you will see this is approximately it. To my shame, I counted my own, which was much less, so I'm probably a bit antisocial, but 24 digital identities, this is what most of the world has. Now, we need to find a way to manage these identities over the mobile phone, because if we don't do that, we're not successful. To me, 2015 was what we call the tipping point. 2015 I was waiting for such a number for many years, and finally it happened. In 2015, the number of tablets sold exceeded the number of laptops and desktops sold worldwide. The world is now more mobile than stationary, period. Now, if we want to combine both these needs, the need to manage identities on mobile, what we have concluded, and this is my personal mission for the next 3 years, is to find a solution for how to enable malware resilient, and this is most important here, it's not only qualified signature, it's malware resilient signing, digital signature, over mobile devices, over any mobile devices in a way that is endpoint agnostic. I do not want to be able to do this only on iPhone or only on Android. I want to be able to do this also on feature phones, right, in developing countries. And this is the biggest challenge, because if you think about it, trying to do that on a specific platform is easy, but trying to do that on any platform is almost impossible today. It's completely impossible today. You need to develop new technologies in order to be able to reach that. And we have two challenges. It's not only qualified digital signature, it's also malware resilient. Okay? Think about how easy it is to capture your PIN. When you log onto your token or smart card, all I need to do as a software engineer is to write a simple software that detects Control, Alt, Delete. What is the next thing you type into your machine after you do Control, Alt, Delete? It's your password. I can grab your password in 2 minutes, 1 hour. Okay? If we can create a solution that is malware resilient, then we're starting to talk about something viable. The problems we are trying to solve, just to give a few examples, a couple of examples, one is the need from government to go paperless. Governments are trying to move from paper to paperless to save money and time. Hospitals are trying to go paperless to avoid fraud, to avoid the ability of someone to fake a prescription. So, a couple of examples, how we play in this market. So we've talked about tax filing. We know obviously what document signing is. A good example, and I just had a great discussion a few minutes ago about e-education. Why would a university need to digitally sign something? Can someone think of why would the university even need to think about deploying a digital signing solution? Is there any commercial gain in that? Forget about security. Let's think about money, right? How does the university make more money? If a university can deploy a remote digital signing solution, they can now have 10 times more students learning from abroad, signing exams and signing work, right? Now they can address a larger market and still keep their reputation because they know that I have signed my exam, it has non-repudiation, I cannot claim I did not do it, etc. This is how we solve the problem today. This is the legacy stuff, okay? Today when we want to solve digital signing problems, we have tokens, smart cards, and middleware. That is what we have. We have nothing else. And what we are now aiming towards is advancing, as we said, towards mobile solutions. So as an example, we will be coming out in the next month with a mobile solution for iOS and Android that includes libraries that can be installed within mobile applications that allow someone to use a micro SD card inside an Android device or a Bluetooth reader or a Bluetooth token on his Android or iOS device. So if someone wants to use his card that was previously used to access his application or his data, he can now do that also over his mobile phone. And if a CFO is on the train on the way home and he needs to sign an invoice, he can do that on the way home from his Android device. Let's skip this one. Okay. So let's talk about mobile signing. How do we do that? We basically, as we mentioned a few moments ago, the market is not really, and the ecosystem is not really ready at this point in time for a healthy ecosystem on mobile devices, because there is no mutual middleware, because there is no smart card infrastructure that allows to build these applications. So our challenge is actually to go out to this ecosystem, to go out to these partners, reach out to the software vendors, reach out to the certificate authorities, reach out to hospitals and to healthcare providers, and create that ecosystem of applications that will be able to consume secure identities and qualified signature. And this is exactly what we are doing now. So on the one hand, we are providing our traditional smart card-enabled devices, readers, tokens, but on the other hand, we are reaching out to technology partners, we are seeding the market, we are finding education providers, education solution providers and healthcare solution providers, e-invoicing solution providers, banking solution providers. All of these are currently thinking, how do I solve the problem of a secure identity within my service? And this is where we are putting our focus today, on providing those apps to these end users. So as an example, we are coming out with this badge reader, which will read any smart card, or a USB token. Both could be charged by plugging them into a USB port and could communicate over a Bluetooth channel with an Android or iOS device. Okay. So a few quick examples of use cases that we are looking at, we're always looking at, but now more than ever. Tax filing. A good example is in India. In India, there are over 500,000 companies that need to sign their tax returns once a year. Okay? Think about an accountant that is doing tax returns for 50 companies. He is now holding in his drawer 50 USB tokens or 50 smart cards. Okay? He takes them out once a year, signs the tax return, puts them back into the closet. Now you can guess that in most cases they don't even remember where they put the smart card, so they buy new ones, which is good for the business, but it's not good for the user. So digital signing is becoming more and more complicated. You need to remember where your device is. Nobody wants to carry a smart card anymore. Nobody. We are the smart card company, right? But we are recognizing that in some markets, users want to have a simpler solution over the mobile phone. Healthcare, we talked about this one. We have doctors that are coming to us and saying, look, I cannot go into a surgery room when I need to do a surgery, and I have synthetic gloves on me, and I cannot plug my smart card into the machine when I want to authenticate to start the operation. So a Bluetooth-enabled solution is a great solution, because now the doctor can walk up to the machine, he is automatically authenticated, and it will also log off when he goes away. Okay? Mobile document signing is obvious. You could do that with, as we said, a Bluetooth-enabled device, but also if you want a permanent solution that will allow you to encrypt email, to encrypt data, you could plug a micro SD card into your Android-enabled device and do the same. And if you were lucky and you made a lot of money and you now have a boat and you want to connect from remote and you do not have anything installed on your laptop, we do have what we call clientless solutions, zero footprint solutions, that will allow you to provide the same degree of security without the need to install any software. So let's talk a few moments about the point, about what is happening now in the market, now that we understood mobility, we understood identities. This is what is going to change the world of digital signing and of qualified signature. if we reflect back, let's say 10 to 15 years on what happened in the qualified signature world, the need for USB tokens and smart cards started, at least in this segment of the market, because governments wanted to go paperless. They wanted to stop using paper. We as a company, we always flattered ourselves. We thought, oh, this is great. Everybody wants to do that because they are thinking about higher security. Because everybody wants to have a more secure solution. That is completely not true. The fact is that government moved paperless to save money and to save time. And then to help with user convenience, which is kind of on the bottom of the list. Increasing security was pretty low on the demand, right, on the need. It's only money and time. Because of both us as a company and our competitors and the market, the solutions we came out with did two things. One, they solved the problem. Two, they solved them in a way that was not very user-friendly, right? You need to carry a card, you need to carry a token, you need to install software, it's complicated. That drove low adoption. Many countries in the world said, no way, we are not using this. We are not going down that route. One of the biggest countries in the world, the United States of America, never deployed PKI and digital signature. How does that make sense? Does someone know who this guy is from the Brooklyn Nets? Deron Williams, very famous basketball player. What you're seeing now is Deron Williams signing his 98, oh yeah, it's a bit fuzzy, $98 million contract. Do you know how he's signing it? Not with a smart card, not with PKI, not with anything. He's scribbling his signature on the tablet. Do you know how long it would take me to hack that? 10 minutes. I could hack that in 10 minutes, and I could change it from $98 million to 980, just by adding 1 0. Very simple. A personal experience, I was on a flight 3 weeks ago from transatlantic over to the US, okay? And I had to enroll my kids in school. So I got an email. I'm still amazed by the fact that over the Atlantic Ocean you can get internet access. But I got a tuition contract from the school, and they asked me to sign it. So I said, yeah, I grew up in Gemalto and SafeNet. I'm a security guy. Maybe I should wait until I can really sign it manually or with my token. But I took a guess. I took a try. I scribbled my signature over a notepad and pasted it onto the document and signed it and sent it back to the school. 3 minutes later, I was enrolled. They accepted it. Which, you know, as a security guy, I'm a bit concerned. How do they know that it's me, especially if I'm over Iceland? But it worked. And what this shows is that the world is now, and not only the US, right? This is happening in many countries, is more accepting solutions that are user-friendly. Okay? Nobody cares anymore. I won't say that nobody cares anymore, but I would say the need to have stronger solutions that are not user-friendly is declining. Everybody wants a simple solution, and people are willing to give up some degree of security. We have been told that for years by Gartner and by IDC. They've been telling us you need to have software solutions, hybrid solutions, hardware solutions. And what this generated is eIDAS. eIDAS actually grew from that need, because the European Union identified that how PKI was deployed, how qualified signature was deployed, was not successful. And this is the attempt to solve that. So how do you solve that? How do you create an environment where anyone from any endpoint, from a browser, from a Mac, from a Linux machine, from an iOS device, or from a feature phone, how can they sign something or authenticate to something using that device. We do what is called, and you obviously know this very well, server signing, or what we call cloud signing. How many people are familiar here with the term server signing? Only one? 2, 3, 4. There must be more. Okay. So, what is server signing? I'm a user. I have my USB token or my smart card that I use to authenticate and to sign documents. What if I could do the same without having a smart card? What if my private keys and certificates could be centrally managed inside a service somewhere in a very protected environment, and I do not need to hold it? Now, you would say that, yeah, if I don't have possession of it, then maybe it's not secure, which is true, unless you create a system which has what is called proof of possession. If my keys, let's say this is me, and I'm somewhere in Prague, and my keys are located somewhere in Germany, inside a secure HSM, a FIPS certified or common criteria certified HSM. And I have a way from my mobile phone to access these keys and have the server sign instead of me. And if I can prove that those are my keys and that only I can access them, then we have a secure solution. And why is this good? It's good for a few reasons. Number one, for the companies that are providing the solution, this enables mobile signing. Instead of needing to deploy additional hardware, which is cards and tokens, anyone can use his own phone. It's very simple. And this actually translates into user experience because now the user does not need to carry additional hardware, right? It saves operational efficiency because now we do not need to deploy cards. We don't need to ship. Think about what certificate authorities are shipping. When they ship a single token in a box this size, they are basically shipping air. Most of what they're shipping is air. It costs a lot of money. There is a lot of reissuance cost. Hence, once we have such a solution which does not require shipping the product, saves a lot of money. In terms of user experience, you can no longer lose your card or token because you can be reissued a new certificate in 2 seconds. And surprisingly, what we found, we've done a pretty long research on this, we have found that although it is sometimes perceived as lower security, this actually does have security advantages. Think about revocation. How many people here use a smart card to sign and authenticate? Yeah? Oh, yeah, okay, it's Europe. We definitely have smart cards here. So, what happens when a certificate authority wants to revoke your certificate? Because for some reason it expired or for some other reason he wants to revoke it. The certificate authority will post a revocation list. So if, let's say, I'm trying to access my bank, and I sign a transaction, I want to move $10,000 to someone. How does the bank check that my certificate is valid? He can go to the revocation list and check if I've been revoked. But that does not stop me from still using my card to sign something. I can still sign stuff. And if the bank didn't do a good job in checking the revocation list, my signature will be accepted. With server signing, that is not possible because with server signing, you can actually kill the private key in 2 seconds, actually 2 milliseconds. So you can kill the private key immediately, which is a true way of revocation of keys. Another, a bit, I'd say, more technical advantage is the fact that with USB tokens connected to a PC, you could tap and listen into electronic signals coming out of the token. And if you are very advanced and very sophisticated, like a government, you could find ways to listen into the communication. With an HSM that is located in a secure remote site, nobody can tap into that. So there are security advantages. Any questions on server signing? Okay. Okay, that's a really good question. So that is a big debate now, and this debate is going on everywhere in the world, right? Just to repeat the question was, how do you prove the identity of someone that is accessing the service? So in some countries, they are saying we can rely on simple OTP. OTP on a phone, one-time password. Other countries are saying that is not enough. We need hardware OTP. We need a token that creates a one-time password. In some cases, it goes even further to the extent that some players in the market are saying you would need a PKI-enabled smart card, okay, a national ID card, to access this service. Now, you would ask, that is a little bit weird, because if you have a PKI card, why do you need a service? You could sign with your card. So there are still advantages in doing that. You have a higher security of access. You still have the advantages of centrally managed keys. But I think my opinion, having seen what is happening in Japan and Singapore and different countries around this, I think that what will end up is that it will be a multitude of options, and different use cases will use different levels of assurance. Does that answer the question? Somewhat. There's no good answer to that question, but that is reality. Okay, so just to finish up quickly. Okay, so as a company, we're trying to, the challenge is basically to try to find a solution that will suit many different countries. And every country, this is very different. Qualified signature, digital signature is very, very, very different than solving an authentication solution for an enterprise. Because in every country, there are different regulations, different needs, different controlling bodies, right? You have banks, you have certificate authorities, different players that want to, I would say, dominate this market and control it in a different way for many, many different commercial reasons. And our challenge is to find a way to solve this problem in a common way worldwide. India is a great example. Just so you know, I know here in Europe, many people are saying that eIDAS is moving very slow, it is taking a lot of time. I can tell you, having spent the past 6 months in many different places in the world to check exactly how to implement this, everybody is looking at Europe with envy. Everybody is asking me, what is eIDAS? We heard about that. What are these guys in Europe doing? Maybe we can do the same. I've heard that in Japan, in India, in Brazil. Many different countries want to do exactly what you are now doing here. This is amazing. Brazil is trying to implement a similar solution for e-invoicing, okay? Very similar to what is going to happen here now. Oman is a good example of where we as a company built a complete infrastructure of PKI. We actually sent machinery and people to build a complete infrastructure. These guys are looking as well at similar solutions. And surprisingly, one of the, I would say, highest degrees of security needed within US government, which is another market we serve with PIV cards and CAC cards. Government agencies like Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, and other 3-letter agencies that I can not state now. So these guys are looking at solving the same problem. You would think that these guys also would say, no, 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 we only need hardware, we will only use cards. No, these guys are looking at solving the mobile need, even for the top most secret and top most sensitive areas of the government.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Only a few more minutes if you want to. Not more.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay.
So thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, I'll be here for the rest of the day.